where can we go that incrementally moves the needle that doesn't require a huge lift or adding staff or adding a huge tech stack?
Mhm.
When you can say like, hey, I've got 10 million followers on
Right.
this and we do, $20 million in sales and we just started, 24 months ago. What do you need the most? You need social proof. You need
Yes.
things to push them over from, hey, I think I might want this, to actually converting. And what's the number one way to do that? AI knows my size,
Right.
they know my preferences, they know my price points, and they go out and they actually shop for all of it for me. Like, how far are we away from that?
Hmm.
Not that far.
Hmm.
Be everywhere, do the right thing, and show up in the places that people want to buy, and everybody
eats. Today's guest, if he was a pro wrestler, his wrestling name would be the Brand Expander. He is the CEO and founder of Buffa Brand. He's a big Buffalo Bills fan. He's also the new father of a dog named Gus, a very cute dog. But more importantly, for the episode we're going to be talking about is how to expand your brand, what you should be looking for, what's been happening in 2025 that's helped or hindered your brand expansion, and also tips for growing and expanding your brand in 2026. How many times can I say brand expand? Let's find out. Today's guest is Corey D. Brown. The first thing we have to get into is that amazing, wonderful Buffalo Bills comeback on Sunday Night Football. I went to bed. It was 40-25. I have Josh Allen and I have Derrick Henry on one fantasy team. I don't know how my league let me get away with that. They're fools. But I went to bed. They both had 25 points, something like that. I was like, all right, cool. This is great. And I woke up the next morning and Josh Allen had 40 or something. So I was like, there's no way. They came back and they won. It was a crazy drive. I hope he plays like that for the rest of the year so I can win some money this year on my fantasy leagues. So,
Yes. So for me, I was just getting back from Co-Create in
mhm,
Vegas and I saw the score line. I was like, all right, I have to get some sleep.
right.
And then I got up. But of course, as a true Bills fan, I've still got it on my phone as I'm
Of
brushing
course.
my teeth, as I'm getting into bed. I'm tucked
Right.
in and I'm like, I see the one score and I'm like, maybe. So my wife and I ended up just watching it
Yeah.
the rest of the way from upstairs and staying up until whatever hour it was, just enjoying the hell out of that. So it was amazing. And yeah,
Unbelievable.
exciting season.
Unbelievable. And it feels like, how do I tie this into the topic? It feels like Josh Allen and the Bills are really the omni-channel strategy of e-commerce of the NFL because they're well-rounded. They've got a great wide receiver core, kind of good tight end, amazing running back in James Cook, and then of course a great defense, good kicker, and of course you have at the helm Captain Josh Allen, who's probably going to be the best quarterback this year, if not one of the best. So it's like omni-channel where you can't just have a really good Amazon approach or a really good Shopify approach. You got to have all of them. You can't have all your eggs in one basket. You have to have all of the players that are good, that are somewhat good.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't know how in depth you are with the Bills, but the Bills model last year into this year is everybody
right.
eats. And as of the last couple of years here, I've been really preaching omni-channel. So like thinking about your omni-channel e-commerce approach, it's like everybody eats. Like don't worry about just Amazon or
Mhm.
forcing people to your DTC when that's not where they want to buy. Be
Right.
everywhere, do the right thing, and show up in the places that people want to buy, and
And
everybody
everybody
eats.
eats. Nailed it. That might be the quote for the episode already within the first couple of minutes here. Everybody eats. No, but Corey, it's great to have you back on talking more about omni-channel expansion and really getting a more modern touch on it. Because our last episode was, um, already about, I think I want to say about a year ago now. So a lot of those tips might be outdated, but now we get a good refresher because as always, as you know, e-commerce is always changing and it's always doing something weird or something crazy. So it's good that we get to, again, hop back on and get a refresher.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were almost exactly a year from the last time we got to chat. So that's too long. Let's
Yes.
not let it be that long
Amen.
again. But great pulse check here to kind of get into the e-com. What's changed in about a year as we head into the busy season here with Amazon Accelerate. It's these big events coming up in the near future.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to get into it. Let's start just off strong. What should people? I know it's already September of 2025. We're heading into Q4. Um, what should people be looking for the rest of the year on their omni-channel approaches? What is something that you guys are doing that is working well, and what's something that again sellers that are listening right now can utilize as part of the rest of the year strategy?
Yeah, so I think, the biggest word out there right now, for where we are in the season would be inventory and forecasting, so going in that direction. Honestly, you should have a lot of that kind of already done in August, in my opinion, for some of these late times, but if you don't, and you're hearing this right now, stop everything else you're doing and think about your
Right.
forecasting through the end of the year and get that inventory in and into those channels and make sure that you have it properly allocated. We've seen a lot of our clients have big growth in certain channels and have to reallocate inventory, as we kinda go through the year. You don't wanna be making those major shifts when these holiday events are going on, and of course, we have, the secondary, um, deal days, prime days, how whatever they call it in October. We've got, the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that whole week, and then obviously heading into the holidays. That's gonna be one of the biggest things, and then also just tuning up, some of your advertising, quite honestly.
Mhm.
I think it's really easy to get into all these channels and then not necessarily know where you should be putting your budget
Mm.
dollars at this time, especially with Amazon's AMC and DSP
Right.
kind of getting even deeper. How much of that money do you put into DSP or your regular ads platform or Meta or
Mhm.
Google is a really big conversation. So I would say talking with your team and really looking at those forecasts and inventory will help you kind of back into how much money you should be allocating for your budget for the ad side.
Yeah. Yeah, a big thing here is, at Velocity is big we're big on capital allocation. We kinda treat it like a poker game of where do you really want your chips to fall? Where do the chips lie, and what makes the most sense, you know? You wanna be on all these channels, but do you wanna be spending the same amount on Amazon as you are on Shopify or Google Ads? Maybe the answer is yes, maybe the answer is no. It depends on the brand, depends on the market, it depends on how profitable your product is. A lot of factors that go into it to, where you place your chips, so
And how much risk is
right.
there in losing that channel's momentum? So as an example, I have a rather large client that we launched onto Amazon last year. They are scaling at a crazy amount, and our conversation circled around, "Hey, it's okay if our DTC goes back order as long as we keep all of our inventory into
Right,
TikTok and Amazon." Those are the 2
right,
channels. Everything else can
right.
fail, and that's it. We'll live with it, but we cannot lose our rank on those 2 channels, and I think that that's kind of, where that conversation comes from is like, yeah, we have to make sure that you know exactly where your breadwinner is.
What a crazy thing. I was just talking to, a good friend, Jordan, yesterday about TikTok and how 5 years ago it was people singing and dancing, and now they're selling billions of dollars a year in revenue, and if you're not on it, you're a loser, who is not on TikTok. So, yeah, I'm
I'm a loser that's not on TikTok.
I also don't have an app, but I'm saying as a brand, if you're a brand not on TikTok, you're kinda missing out. But yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
you
so
absolutely are.
interesting.
You're missing on the opportunity for sure. There's definitely an opportunity there for, I think, almost every brand. There's probably some use cases where it doesn't make sense, but I think there's at least a conversation to be had and an exploration to be had with professionals to see if there's a positioning on TikTok that makes sense for your
Mhm.
brand.
Mhm. And it kinda it goes into a good question I just thought of you know, Amazon is always the default. It's probably always gonna be the default. It's always gonna be the king, or queen, depending on what it identifies as in 2025. It's always the default. So where do brands, either that you work with or just in your experience, where do brands maybe overlook the struggle of trying to expand beyond it? You know, like I know this is a very big, deep question, but what are some of the main things that brands maybe look past in focusing on growing beyond Amazon? Maybe let's say they're 6 months into Amazon, they're doing 10,000 a month, right? What's reasonably their next step, and what is maybe some people ignore?
Yeah, so it's hard for me not to say still do more Amazon,
Right.
right? Because as you said, it's absolutely king. So for me, you can sell more products, you can be in more
Mhm.
places, um, a- and that's about it. Like you can add markets, you can add countries, you can add apps that you're on. There are ways to incrementally grow, and I think that having that conversation that might be more Amazon.
Mhm.
That's actually my real answer. That might be
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, actually, we're not in Canada yet. We're not in Mexico. We haven't looked at Europe."
Mhm.
So actually, for me, yes, okay. So let's say that client's working in the sellers in Amazon US, that they're doing solid numbers in there. Would I roll out to? I'd be looking at Walmart.
Mhm.
I'd be looking at TikTok in the US first, but I think it's actually potentially less complicated to expand to more markets on Amazon first and then layer in. It actually depends on what your infrastructure is. So if you have a team, it depends on what your team's skills are
Mhm.
as well and kind of who you're working
Right.
with. But if you have a team that could expand you to Europe on Amazon, I would actually go there before I'd potentially jump onto another channel that complicates
Mhm.
things. But that's where having that's actually like my
Right.
role, right? Like I consult on what are you good at? What are we good at? Who else do you have on your team? Do you already have an amazing TikTok team? Then yes, we should be focusing on that. If you have no TikTok at all, okay, it'd be easier to launch an academy,
Right.
right? Those are the conversations that we're having day in and day out. But yeah, I think that really comes down to that. And then also tech, because a lot of times when I get into it with a seller and they say, well, I'd really love to roll out to Walmart, but for example, we sell on WooCommerce
Mm.
and we ship our own products and then we have FBA. Well, those don't talk as well as if you told me, hey, I have
Mhm.
Shopify, we sell on there. I can in one day integrate that to all your channels, have everything sync in and have it be a much and that's the conversation, right? Like what do you already have in place? Where can we go that incrementally moves the needle that doesn't require a huge lift or adding staff or adding a huge tech stack?
Mhm. Are you enjoying this episode's content? If you are, make sure to like and share so that all of your friends can also enjoy this episode and its content. And also, while you're liking and sharing, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay up to date on all things e commerce, all things Velocity sellers. When you subscribe, you will get access to a variety of different episodes. You'll get our main episodes, which include me talking to different experts in various fields of knowledge that know a lot more than I do, so it'll give you a lot better information. You'll also get access to our exciting showdown episodes where two e commerce experts will go head to head on hot topics in the e commerce world and what they disagree on and what they might agree on. And then you'll also get access to the e-tail report, which is essentially the latest news around the e-commerce world, spoken to you by me, telling you all the information that you might have missed and all the headlines you might have missed in the e-commerce world. So make sure you join and subscribe to stay ahead of the curve and also be a part of our Velocity Sellers family. So I think that is also kind of an answer to the question that comes up is you got to factor in maybe more things than you think. It's not just about okay, we have the inventory, we have the capital, we're ready to do it. It's like you said, do you have the team? Do you have the tech? Do you have the capacity to handle this? So yeah, thank you. That's a good answer. Um, and it makes sense, and some of these marketplaces too. I have recently been thinking about and talking about other guests. Some of these marketplaces are maybe not even a big sales driver, especially TikTok. I feel like I don't know if you had this in your experience, but again, same thing. I was just talking to Jordan about this, and she was saying that a big brand doesn't even use TikTok for sales. I mean, they obviously sell, but they sell at such a discounted rate that it's really more for brand awareness more than anything else. I think that's probably the only example of that, I would think, unless you have another one that would do that. But are there any marketplaces that you're going into thinking, we're going to break even on this maybe, but this is going to be more of a marketing play? Or what are your thoughts on
Yeah, I
doing that
think
for TikTok as well?
yeah, I think when you get into the social channels, I think you're willing to eat that a little bit
Mhm.
more and kind of have that, but you have to be able to capture that data as well.
Right.
So I think being set up to know your metrics, so to know that you're not losing everything on having a product out there on those other channels, creating brand awareness and putting some effort into TikTok and beyond on the social side of things is a really great play. So for us, we have some clients that are working through using Meta and Meta ads for the brand awareness and kind of looking at Amazon as more of like mid to bottom funnel. So, they're looking at it as if we can be close to break even on Meta
Mhm.
ads, but the trickle down is that lots of people are searching for us on Amazon and we're just gobbling up market share and we're super profitable over there. Cool. Like that works for us. That might not be everybody's story, but I've seen quite a few of those this year where that's kind of the play and it's definitely working. So I think that can be it for TikTok and for some of the social side of things. Just making sure that you are making some money somewhere. Like the profit has to happen on some channel and it needs to be at enough scale to fund that other side, such as TikTok.
Right. Right. I think they're different too. I mean, if everything had the same, I think again, if every marketplace had the same goal as Amazon, I mean, they wouldn't, you wouldn't need to be on any other marketplaces. I don't think. I mean, some people boycott Amazon. They don't shop on Amazon. They only shop on Walmart or your own website or something like that. But I feel like Amazon and even Walmart do different things. You're in those marketplaces for different reasons, and it depends on you know maybe the niche. Maybe you're on DickSportingGoods.com because you're a sports thing or stuff like that, or you're outdoor. Walmart has a big outdoor section, so does Dick's, and other, again, outdoor places. But it's very interesting to think about when you think omni-channel. You just don't think, okay, here's Amazon, and then here's Amazon 2, which is Walmart, or here's Amazon 3, which is your Shopify page. They all do different things, which is I think unique. And like you said, it depends on the brand, depends on what their
Yeah,
goals are.
I think also something that we've seen a shift in is, the olden days you'd see brands that are really working to get into
Hmm.
retail, and then e-com became like their support,
Yeah,
right? Like, "Oh, you can't find us in all of these stores, like, you can still buy us
get us
here."
online.
And
Yeah,
now what I'm seeing is consistently the opposite driver. I'm seeing brands that scale on TikTok and Amazon and
right.
Walmart, and then they're reversing course and going to Target, Walmart
Hmm.
stores, and other examples of retailers, and basically saying like, "Hey, we're really popular online. Here's our
Hmm.
numbers. What would it look like for us to be in your store?" And then they're actually like manufacturing a beeline of products, I and moving those into the stores as kind of like the next tier,
Yeah,
which is a very opposite approach, but makes a heck of a lot of sense for where we are now, because it's so much easier to launch online than it is to convince a major retailer across the US that your tiny brand is somehow relevant in their stores and deserves this limited shelf space. But when you can say like, "Hey, I've got 10 million followers on
right.
this, and we do, $20 million in sales, and we just started, 24 months ago." It's a much easier play to go to a retailer and say, "Hey, I think we're deserving of some space.
Yeah.
What would work with your
I need some
consumers?"
shelf space. Yeah, we say that all the time to all the people that come in and say, "I wanna get into Target, I wanna get into Walmart." And I say, "Okay, what are your Amazon sales?" And they say, "Oh, they're okay." So you'll never get in. I don't even think they'll let you in without a certain amount. I know Target is like a certain amount. They don't even consider you unless you're doing this much online specifically. Not even just, maybe it is across all channels, but I feel like they're very specific about getting into Target Plus, like their online Amazon style
Yeah.
e-commerce channel. They're super, super not specific. What's the word? Picky, and they gatekeep it, as the kids say, trying to be hip. At 25. But no, yeah. So they're very picky about who they want in there. And you're right. I was going to
Yeah,
ask
it's
you
it's
about,
highly
yeah, the
gated.
shifts, and this is a big one of who needs to be in retail anymore. I'm just going to buy it online. So it's a shame.
Yeah, so retail is definitely still a play, but I think it's a more specific play now. Like for me, if I'm launching a brand, I'm absolutely launching it online first, and then I'll worry about retail later. The only opposite approach to that I see that's like very important still is in the grocery category.
Mm,
I would say because the way that grocers are brokered into stores and into groups of stores, let's say, 10 to 25 major, like, if you can get into Kroger's
right.
or Wegmans or things like that, where you get 5 to 25 stores at a time, where you get some
Hmm.
placement, then it goes back to the old script of like, okay, get in there and maybe get in Whole Foods, allow Amazon to do some cross-selling for you, but then also build out your brand as a support for all those people that can't get it. Because I think another thing that when it comes to the grocery side of things, people don't realize how transient our population is
Hmm.
now. Because if you are a really popular brand, let's say I'm in Buffalo, so I'm in Western New York,
Hmm.
right? And Ontario is right above us. So we work with a bunch of brands where their brand is super popular here for miles and miles and miles. Everybody knows where it is. I don't know if we'll go back to the Bills. I don't know if you've ever been on a plane.
I've been to the Bills.
Bills fans are
I've been to the
everywhere,
Bills
right?
Stadium.
So,
Yeah.
so but the way I look at that is people move a lot more frequently than they used to, and they still wanna buy things and eat things from
Right.
home. So in the grocery, category, I love to see it push out to those retailers and then kinda come back and make sure you have a good e-com support, because people do wanna buy a taste of home, and they don't wanna wait till the next time that they're
Right.
back here.
I say that about Wawa. I don't know if you've ever been to a Wawa out in the Northeast.
See, good
Yeah.
example. I've never done Wawa, but I think Wegmans, and I think of some of our like East's pita chips, and I think
Yeah.
of Salen's hot dogs and different things, Lake Effect ice cream, all these different brands where it's like, you can only get those
Mhm.
here, but I need to be able to buy them online for
I
sure.
I think I don't know if we had this episode when before or after I went to the Bills Cowboys game last year in Buffalo. I think it was after. I think it was December of last year.
Okay,
And it's
yeah.
a great city, Buffalo, great city. Shout out to Buffalo. Um, And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's so different. There was one wings place out there that was super special. I mean, obviously there's a lot of wings places out there, but
So
there's
many.
one like it's like a famous one. I have to look up to find out where
To
exactly.
the Duff's or Anchor
Duff's.
Bar are the two.
Duff's, that
Yeah,
just struck
Duff's is
yeah,
solid.
we went to the original one, and my buddy's a big Bills fan, and he said, "We have to go here." He's been to a bunch of them. Um, but, yeah, no, it's you're right, it's very unique the way that I think, you think about things from your area that are special. So, yeah, I'd say Wawa is definitely my go-to. If I could order Wawa anywhere online, I don't know how well it would travel, but, I do like the company Goldbelly, where they ship you food from any restaurant that participates. They put it in special packages, and you can actually get it kinda fresh. We had a buddy that worked there, and I had a lot of good orders from Goldbelly when he worked there. We got a lot of good, what do you call it, coupons. So, but,
Nice. Shout out to
yeah.
them.
But, kinda going back on that, I was gonna ask you about trends later on, but we'll talk about it now. Anything else? Anything shifting in 2025 that you've seen to kind of play a part, of course, aside from maybe things like AI, or maybe we get into AI. But any other
Yep.
trends that you've seen kind of come back or go away this year in omnichannel expansion?
Yes. So I think this is something we may have even touched on last year, but and there's a lot of early implementation to it, but I think there's also a lot of hesitance, is working with the buy with Prime options on Amazon and integrating that onto DTC sites. I think that's still a super relevant conversation. The uptake has been fairly slow. Those that have jumped into that program and built it out, I think are seeing some pretty serious results. But there's also always going to continue to be that hesitance of, I don't want Amazon taking over my
Right.
store. I don't want them taking over my margins. They've made a lot of changes to that program. They actually announced a lot of those changes probably a couple weeks after we did the podcast last year, where they're giving a lot more data. They're sharing more of the pie, if you will. They're not holding the cards so close because they understand that if Amazon's going to integrate with your website, that it still needs to work and feel like your website. So an example of that would be like the integrated cart. Before you would check out, if it was a buy with Prime item on your site, it would check out in like a separate cart instead of a unified cart, which is like anti-Amazon,
Right.
right? Like that is the exact opposite. It's friction. You're like actually creating friction. So they worked on and very quickly fixed that and made it a very unified cart. So even if you're getting a couple orders that are actually coming from Amazon, a couple that are coming from, my
Right.
site, it feels
Together.
it's super.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you check out together, all the information's together. The sellers are getting that. You could put your stars and reviews and all of that onto the website, which I think is huge. Honestly, I don't see enough brands implementing this because the social proof, and I think a lot of younger brands. So I work in mostly in the SMB
Mhm.
space, right? So a lot of brands that are newer, that are smaller, that are kind of sub enterprise, and they tend to have more of this mindset of like, I need to get every dollar out. I can't really have Amazon on my site.
Right.
That's for the big brands, and it's actually the opposite, right? Because if you get someone to land on your site and they're potentially purchasing from your small business, what do you need the most? You need social proof. You need
Yes.
things to push them over from, "Hey, I think I might want this," to actually converting, and what's the number one way to do that? Give them really fast shipping. Put Amazon's logo on it. Put Amazon's reviews on it. Like, basically, give it the Amazon stamp of approval, and the best way you can do that is buy with Prime. So that would be definitely one of those
You gotta
things.
increase their, customer confidence level, their CCL. I think I made that up. I don't probably not, but I think I'm the first one to abbreviate. I've never heard that before. Their customer
I love it.
confidence level is crucial. I say this all the time about the Amazon content, specifically on Amazon, but I think it applies to here. I think it applies to every other channel as well of, are you're taking these people are taking a risk that they've never heard of your brand. So top of funnel people are taking a risk of buying your product. How do you get them to take the leap of faith? You increase their confidence and they're gonna like your product. They're gonna trust it. It's gonna give them value. All this stuff. So yeah, definitely Buy with Prime is a big tool for, I think, any platform, any brand should be investing in that. For again the social proof, like I said, social, not social credit, but I guess kind of social credit, social proof really is a better word, or better two words, better phrase. There we go. We'll say. Um, but yeah, no, it's very interesting. I'm hoping Buy with Prime expands to TikTok. I'm hoping they do a little deal because I think that would be very funny. We said this about Meta a couple years ago that they would never do a deal with Amazon. They would never let people buy Amazon products on Meta, and then here we are. They're doing it. It's happening. So I'd be interested to hear if your thoughts too, if this happens, if this goes through. Do we think Amazon and TikTok will do some sort of deal? Will they make that more unified? I heard Bezos was actually going to buy TikTok when they were getting shut down, when TikTok was going to get banned. I heard there was a rumor that Bezos was gonna buy it, and that was gonna be owned by Amazon, because they needed some American person to buy it. But it never happened, obviously. But yeah, do you think they're gonna do anything? Is that gonna move forward? Do we think? Is that gonna ever happen, or is TikTok gonna want to stay far away from that?
Yeah, so you said a little deal happening. I'm like, well, they kinda almost had a big deal
Yeah.
happen, right? With what you had mentioned there. Yeah, so I definitely think that that's in play.
Hmm.
If you go back in time and you look at it, from the Amazon to Shopify perspective, right? So, like, I grew up in both of those, and they were very siloed, and they were like, "We will." I think Shopify was maybe a little more open to Amazon. Amazon was not, or they were very publicly not open to working with
Right.
Shopify. They saw them as a competitor, and I think then they both continue to grow and grow and grow, and eventually, with all the other things happening and the melding of how we interact with content
Hmm.
online and then buy through our phones, it eventually became very clear that they needed to have something together, and then boom, just like that, they, like, threw everything together, and then they've been iterating ever since. So, I've been around long enough now, I hate to admit that, but I've been around long enough now to watch, adversaries become,
Right.
allies. And so I won't rule it out. I think that there's definitely been some writing on the wall as far as TikTok, some major change will happen. So I think when that happens, there probably very likely will be some integrations with it. There's just no reason at this point, kind of going back to the everybody eats, as long as everybody's getting their
Right.
fees, honestly, who cares? Like, and there's gonna be a little bit, I think, when you're first building a platform and you're really getting all those eyeballs and all of that, but I think there becomes a level of maturity in a business where you've done it and you're at a certain point where you're very comfortable and solid in the market, and then you start to go, "Okay, now we can play a little nicer. Now we're shoulder to shoulder with these guys instead of looking up at Amazon.
Hmm.
Now we're shoulder to shoulder, and we can kinda take a step back and go, all right, how could we be on the same team? How could we all benefit from this? How would customers feel if we were able to do this with what we've got going
Right.
on?" And that makes those conversations a lot easier at that point. So,
Yeah.
near future.
It'd be interesting of just looking at the importance of social commerce now. I mean, TikTok is, I think, only what, still maybe like 7, 10%, maybe less than that even, of Amazon's sales. So it's catching up. Again, 5 years ago, it was a dancing app where people sung, and there were trends and there was sounds that you recorded over, and that was it. And now they're selling 5% of what Amazon sells in a year or a month. That's crazy. It's a crazy shift. So,
Yeah.
again, with the importance of things like AI and social commerce, do you think it's something not crazy? I want to get the clickbait, the clip answer here, but really the question is, what do you think is going to have the biggest impact on scaling, on expanding your brand, on omni-channel expansion, the next couple of years here? Do you think it'll be AI? Do you think it'll be social commerce, a mix of both? I mean, what are we? And there's no right answer here, but what are we looking forward to?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple different answers. So, let's talk AI
Yep.
first, I think. I think we haven't quite hit that. We've danced around it a little bit here.
I'm a little scared. I think it's the
So
end of the world,
yeah,
but
I I agree. I tend to be a little on that boat too. So on the AI side of things, we've already seen a market shift in how content's created, how ads are placed, how people are managing customer
mhm,
service, all the way through automating every other aspect of their business. As an agency, leader in the space, it's it's not quite terrifying. I think a lot of people have posted, very clickbait titles of like, AI is going to take all the jobs. AI is going to do this. AI is going to do that. But I go back to the first conversation we had, the first question we
mhm,
had on here. There's always going to be problem solving. There's always going to be thinking things through. AI is great at implementing, once you've built a strategy, implementing simple repetitive tasks and a little beyond that at this point. And I do think it will continue to get better. Uh, But when we kind of go back to it right now, it has its uses. It's revolutionized a number of things already,
Mhm.
but we still need brain power. We
Right.
still need people that are consulting. We still need people that are utilizing it to create amazing things. So I do think that AI is probably going to be the number one shift because I think the speed at which it has changed so many things over this past year, whether whether you're actively using it or not, it's already been impacting your business.
Right.
Because the platforms and marketplaces that you're selling on are already using AI as well. The search is changing. You've heard a lot of people talk about like, instead of SEO, like
Mhm.
GEO and some of these other terminologies of like, how swiftly are we going to move to I ask AI for a product and they actually just buy it for me because
Oh,
they know my personal preferences. They know all of these different things. We are on the cusp of that. And I do think that that is probably the biggest change that we're going to see in the next 6 to 12 months is going to be because they already
right.
exist, by the way. Like I
Right.
have some very tech forward people in my world that are already utilizing this to some degree. At what point does that become the way we actually shop
The
for
norm.
things?
Yeah.
Like the average mom and pop sitting at home say, "Hey, I need more
Right.
whatever, in our house," and AI knows exactly where to look for it, what brands you like, how much you usually order,
Mhm.
and they know how to look for the lowest price all over the place and order it and get it delivered.
The simple thing is with you can do
That
that already with your Amazon Alexa or Echo. You can say, "Hey, Echo, I need more of this. Can you order some off Amazon?" And they will. And
Yes, and
yeah.
the next step is, "Hey, I'm looking for, a new running jacket."
Mhm.
It's something more specific, right? Not a reorder.
Right.
Like, a refill is pretty easy, like, we've always had refills and subscribe and saves and things like
Yeah.
that, so that's a pretty natural
Right.
step, but the next step is like, "Hey, I need to figure out what my new, I need winter running gear." AI knows my
Right.
size, they know my preferences, they know my price points, and they go out and they actually shop for all of it for me. Like, how far are we away from that?
Hmm.
Not that far.
Hmm. It's a little scary.
I don't
It's a
like
little
it.
scary.
I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying I don't think we're that far away from it. It can already learn how you like to write, how you like to, like basically create things that look and sound like you. At what point does it know your preferences and start to search? And then how does that impact everybody from the point of sale to the customer?
Mhm.
Like, what does it do to truncating that search
Right.
method, and how do we adapt to that in the marketing space? I think for me is the biggest trend that I'm watching
Mhm.
currently because that's going to change
Right.
everything.
And you mentioned GEO, which is a great term, generative engine optimization. We're starting to do that already, because kids when I was growing up, it was Google it, Kids today are saying, "Oh, just ChatGPT it or ask ChatGPT." They're not even saying I think the
Yeah.
percentage of kids that say Google it are minuscule compared to the kids that say just ChatGPT it or ask Gemini or ask Cloud or ask Manus or ask any of the other bots that can do what ChatGPT can do. Um, so I don't think that generation will be Googling things or even, I think at one point people did most of their product searching on Amazon. You're in a store, you look up the reviews
Yeah.
on Amazon, and that's it. Now I think they are going to go into ChatGPT and they're going to say, "What is the benefits of this product compared to this product or anything like that?" Or just say, "What's the best rain boot or hiking boot or umbrella or anything?" Not just rain products, but anything. So it's really interesting. You're right to see kind of where that goes. I hadn't thought about it like that, but you're right. It is going to be weird to see people say, "Oh, hey, AI bot, can you go out and can you search the web and find this product for me?" And and you already know my size because you're my personal AI bot. They know you. They really do. They don't forget things. Um, yeah, that's very scary. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate that on
Yeah.
this
You
nice
had
Wednesday
you
morning. Now it's ruined.
I it is pretty awesome to think about the fact that I could go look for some winter boots and say, "Hey, I love to find a
Right.
pair of winter boots. I'd like them to be
Hmm.
black." And then you know my size already. You know the fit that I like. And I'd like to compare the durability, the aesthetics, and the waterproofing,
Right.
and maybe one or two other points, and then having something that can do that legwork to go, actually, here's the top 5 products and here's how they compare, basically giving you a live comparison table of what's going on. Like, that to me is super cool.
Yeah.
It's very scary. Where does it end? I
Right,
don't
where's the
know.
line?
As someone who read all of the Dune trilogy
Mm,
in the last year, and the revolution against the thinking bots, I've got a little bit. Maybe I'm a little too far into that. I got to get a little further away. But yes, I think that that's really going to be interesting. And yeah, we've already seen it a little bit. We've got Rufus. We've got some of the other ones out there. So Rufus is on Amazon. We've got some other bots as well, and then obviously the general ones, Gemini, so
right,
forth. There's so many ways to search and they've all changed, and yeah, we've come a long way since Ask Jeeves,
right,
right?
right, or,
Now we're asking super smart computers to do all the thinking for us.
what was that, that fun like, phone game where it, like, guesses the person you're thinking of? I don't know if you're too no offense, too old for that. That it was AI. Sorry. What's it called? The Akinator, where it would know who you're talking about based on the questions that you or that the questions it asked you, and then it would narrow down, it would guess who you were. That was like a really early form of AI. And that was very weird how accurate it was. You had to get like really, really obscure people for it to not know. Like you had to pick a celebrity and it would guess it all the time. But yeah, like I said, same thing with TikTok. It's weird to see how far we've come from just in the last couple of years even too. I mean, it's advancing at a very rapid pace to the point where, again, like I said, it's kinda scary. It's a little, 2001 Space Odyssey. I'm afraid we're all gonna end up like Wally. We're all gonna have our own little hover carts, and we're just not gonna do anything. We're just gonna watch TV or YouTube or whatever, and our AI bot's gonna take care of everything for us. Um, so we'll see where it goes. I'm a bit of a doomsday guy with
We
that,
are
but
we are doom and gloom
yeah.
here this morning.
Yeah. It is a little cloudy out here out in South Bend, so that kinda fits, but uh, yeah. Anyway, um, I just oof, I can't believe it. But yeah, let's get something else here. Let's get into the fun future forward topics or the fun advice topics, which are more
Let's do it.
exciting. Do you have anything out there that a brand can do this week? So let's say early Q4 that they can do to prep for either expansion in during the rest of the year to prep for success during the rest of their current Q4. What's something they can do right now to succeed and take a good step towards expanding their brand?
Okay. So I think it kinda goes back to what we've already talked about to a certain extent. I would say eyeing up new channels, and honestly, I wouldn't even launch those new channels in Q4. But now, as we're kind of in this window, I like to make sure that everything for our brands is basically buttoned up by the end of September. You're pretty much good for Q4. Obviously, some brands you're holding on for dear life and you're trying to make sure that you have enough inventory. Maybe you're scaling ads down at certain times, trying to make sure that you perfectly hit sell through basically by the end of the year. So let's pretend this is a couple weeks in the future here, and that same question comes up. My next step would be, okay, what does next year look like? One of the beautiful things about my role in the ecom world is I'm always future facing. The downside of that is I'm never here in the present because I'm always thinking
I
about
was
6 months
looking
from
right,
now. So, but we'll talk about that
right,
later. We'll unpack that later. So I would already be thinking actually about the next quarter and where you could roll out. And right now, that would be the number one question for me is if I was to sell more product next year, where could that be? And actually going through the process with someone, and really figuring out that next step of is it another market? Is it another country? What does that look like? And starting to get prepared now. I know that doesn't give you immediate sales here in Q4, but you that's not actually
right,
you should already be set up for
right,
that. If you're not, go get set up for it.
right.
Put this
Like
put
you
this
said right
down,
in the
pause this,
beginning,
go yeah,
pause this
go get
episode.
set up for it
Yeah,
now. Spend the next week or 2 and make sure you are hammered out, and then start to think about your next channel and talk to a few professionals about what those channels represent and what you need to do to be prepared for things like that or things like shipping
right,
logistics. Those internal systems potentially for your shipping as well. Do you need different warehouse space? Do you need additional staff? And have those conversations now and be prepared to launch them in January instead of hitting January 1st, getting back in that office after a little vacation and going, "Okay, what's next?" Like, you're already late.
right,
Just like for Q4, you're already late. You're late
right.
again. So have those conversations now and start building while the sales are happening and be ready so that when you have that first 2 weeks of January, you're like, okay, our goal this year is to launch into Europe,
Right.
is to become a TikTok brand. And we have some actionable steps to do that.
Right. Be ready for your next plate. Everybody eats. Be ready for the next plate. There we go.
Exactly. Love it.
If
Tried to bring it
yes,
back.
I'm trying to tie it back in. If you had to, and again, very broad question, very difficult. I'm sorry to ask you this, but you've got a bit of a cold. If you had to boil it down, what is the one of the maybe number 1 and 2 things that separates a brand from succeeding in expansion and struggling with expansion?
Ooh, great
Thank
question.
you.
So I'm gonna be slightly self-serving here, but
Please.
it's actually because this is really what you need to do, not just because I'm a consultant by nature.
Us too, so we get it.
Uh, Honestly, hire professionals in the channels that you don't understand. That would be the number one thing to do. The brands that I work with that are doing the absolute best, they're utilizing us for
Mhm.
marketplaces. They're utilizing another team for social and maybe the TikTok side of things. They're using another team for their Meta and their DTC and kind of driving that traffic. And not only that, they're not siloing those teams. They've also got an internal team that is working with each of those professional teams. So I know that there are some places that do that all in one
Mhm.
place, and that's fantastic. If you can find a great solution that literally does all of those things, kudos to you.
Sweet.
I think that niching down is actually really important, but how those professionals interact and your ability to connect them and connect the dots and drive the most value from each thing that everyone's doing by exchanging information and ideas is absolutely crucial. The brands that I see that are doing the absolute best are doing that at scale. The brands that I see that fail to scale at all are the ones that have each one of these teams and don't want them to talk, and they're worried about who gets credit for what,
Mhm.
and they're not thinking about everybody eats. They're thinking about how does our TikTok numbers look?
Right.
How does our Amazon numbers look? How does our DTC? And they pit everybody against each other and say like, well, DTC, you got to be doing X and Y and Z. And what happens is no one wants to share information. No one wants to, everyone's worried about attribution, which attribution is great,
Mhm.
but ultimately the brand should be worried about how do we do this? Doesn't really matter where that happens. So that would be the number one thing. I don't know if I have a second thing, honestly.
That was a good thing.
That
That
would
was
be
a great
that would
one
be
thing.
that, that's a multifaceted item
Right.
there, and I think getting those people in the room and then just reality checking them and being able to lead that, and knowing when to be hands off with it too. I think there's a level of I actually had a great conversation with one of my clients, while I was at Co-Create, and she said this quote that just killed me. She goes, "I just like to empower each of the teams to do what they want. I really love to be hands off."
Mhm.
And I looked her dead in the eyes and I said, "Yeah, but once in a while, I'd like you to be a little more hands-on." Like, because essentially she's just like, "I trust you guys to the end of the earth." And I'm like, "That's cool, but we still need information. We still need to
Right.
communicate. We still need to know what's going on." So like
Yeah.
trust is great. And I love that. That's a great foundation, but also
Mm.
communication, right? So we have a good communication level. And I was just like, hey, maybe we could just dial that up like one more. But that just goes to show that she trusts us implicitly with what's going on and we're scaling their brand tremendously, and each of the other channels are as well. But that's the type of attitude that you do need to have going in. Just make sure that you have the right level of communication with it as
Love
well.
it. Communication is very important in every aspect of your life. Friends, relationships, e-commerce businesses, the trifecta there. You gotta have good communication in all 3. Love it. Love it. Corey, I wanna thank you for doing another episode with us. I appreciate you coming on and again, rehashing our discussion here, getting us updated here in 2025 of omni-channel expansion tips. Any final thoughts for our audience on the entire concept of omni-channel expansion or honestly on the Buffalo Bills?
Wow. There's so many thoughts on that. No, I think for me, I wish everyone a really great Q4. I'm excited for everyone. I know that this is going to be a really big time of the year for a lot of brands. And for those that aren't Q4 heavy, let's start thinking about the next chapter here. Maybe you're a summer brand and you got to start thinking now about what's going on. Honestly, I think a lot of brands should just have some conversations about where they want to go next because the brands that are expanding quickly are doing so on multiple channels.
Mm.
So, like, start to have those conversations. Realistic. I know I hit it a few different times in a few different ways, but have those conversations. Come out to some events, see what tech and what people are out there,
Yeah.
see what fits with you, and just start to explore that a little bit more. Don't be so stubborn that you feel like you have to be an Amazon only brand. And that's the only thing you know how to do. There are other people who are really great at each and every one of those. Find someone you trust and start to build that relationship today. And as far as the Buffalo Bills, I mean, what more can I
Yep.
say? MVP,
Want to know?
Super Bowl, and that's it. Go
Go
Bills.
Bills and go Phils. I'm a baseball guy, so I've got my little helmet up here, so it rhymes. Phils and Bills. That's why I wanted to tie that in.
There we
So
go.
Corey, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much. If you want to check out Corey's LinkedIn, I'll have it linked down below, along with his website, Buffa Brand. So make sure to check out both of those. Connect with Corey, send him a message. We might see you at. This is going to come out after, but I believe some of our team is going to accelerate next week. So we will see you then. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll be at
Make sure to
Accelerate,
connect.
Unboxed, and a couple other events.
Wonderful.
So I'm excited to see everybody out there. And yeah, it's going to be a
Keep
great
an eye
time.
out for Corey and say "Go Bills" to get a free omni-channel lesson from him. I'm sure he'll do that after you say "Go Bills." That'll open up
Done.
the door for you. So,
Done. Deal. I like it.
Corey, thank you so much again for being a guest once more, and thank you all for watching. I am your host, Velocity Pete, and we will see you next week.